think I think you touched on something that I really wanted to get to, where there's these amazing parallels between Bitcoin and plant medicines, where when you're like you don't understand what the money is and you're just living in the fiat system, it's like you can't see what's around you. You're just a fish in water. And then the Bitcoin gives you this beautiful perspective, this pedestal to stand on to actually witness what that thing is. So then you can make different choices. And I think we get so caught up in the human experience and not even the human experience in its like most natural form, but the human experience in this weird manifestation of like all the imprints of society and culture and everything on us of what we should be and how we should live and how we, are meant to act. When in reality, we don't make our own choices a lot of the time. And working with these plant medicines, it's very similar where you get this other pedestal to stand on to really reflect and witness like what your life is and what it means and like what you want to create with it. And then also that glimpse behind the curtain again of this like spirit world, that's also right next to us. And it's so easy to, well, you talk about belief, like do I believe in the spirit world? And it's like, no, I know it. It's like there's nothing to believe in because I've like been there and it's real.
I I saw this TikTok of a like an old Jamaican guy that said like, "You only believe in things you don't think are true."
I mean, the word belief has lie in it.
Oh wow, yeah, there's lying in there. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think etymology, like you mentioned, is extremely important.
For sure. Yeah. That's something I think about all the time is like etymology because we use these words to communicate and we're just doing our best to communicate, but these words carry so much programming with them that we don't actually understand what we're saying and then also how the words we say affect our way of viewing the situations. It's like, oh, I have, a partner and I have pets, I'm about to have a child. I have so much responsibility, right? But like responsibility, it's your ability to respond. You respond in the present moment. So it's like, how equipped are you to deal with what's in front of you? Not, can you carry this boulder for the next 50 years?
And two things to tie that what you just said back to what we talked about before. That radical acceptance is extremely difficult, I think. It's something that sometimes I have, and sometimes I'm like, ugh, I'm also lost in being the physical me, right? Where I'm like complaining and this or that, or like worrying or whatever. But that is that is the whole part of the cadence. I think you need to get there to understand this is also there, and that this is like the equilibrium. If you can integrate, right, and that's also where all these the whole Icarus myth is about not going too high or you will fall, right? It's all about finding like the middle thing. And so this is why I love all this old stuff and etymology. Is like there are truths hidden in how in the words we use or the stories people tell, or else they wouldn't exist. Like there wouldn't be any value to tell these things to other people if they weren't true. Like if you have a child, you tell them the things that you think are true. And if the rest of the society, or whatever in which you're in, doesn't follow that, then like that idea of something will die. Does that make sense? Like it something that still bears truth like 2000 years later, where people are like, huh, if I read that, it actually makes a lot of sense. That is just truth, because enough people on a bigger scale than we can probably imagine agreed that this is something they still have to tell other people. So like you said, it's the absolute acceptance of the fact that you are here and you have no clue how the fuck this works, and your whole life is about struggling with that, basically up and down. I think the getting humbled part, or the humility part, is getting to that point where you can accept that, or like the hunter gatherers did. This is why I think it's always so interesting and not so difficult to understand, but it's difficult to do. You have to give yourself to the bigger thing. You have to accept that there is something bigger that you can never understand, that you are part of, that you are perhaps a product of, but that you also are at the same time. Like, what the fuck? Right. And I think that struggle and well, maybe the enjoyment or the curiosity around what that brings, I think kind of packaging it like that for me is what kind of helps me to deal with that knowing that you just mentioned, right? Like the feeling I had, like, okay, what do I do with this knowledge? Is, well, you just continue, and it's basically a tool for you to understand if you're like fully down the physical life drain, and you're like, fuck, and I'm down and out and this and that, it's bad and whatever, I'm depressed or whatever. If you just think about the fact that there's like an infinite reality, and you are not even a microbe on that scale, then it doesn't really matter where you're at.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think you also get a better opportunity to deal with the polarity of life, because
There's a perspective outside of you.
exactly, right? It's like every moment is a test or a celebration. And it's like know them both and live them fully, right? It's like when the days are a 10 out of 10, like just fully take it in for how good it is. When you just get hit by just a massive curveball and like shit gets hard, that's where you learn. And it's so easy to be in the shit and be like, this is fucked. But every time I've reached like a rock bottom of sorts, it's been the opportunity to make great changes because I was humbled. Like I made incorrect turns at certain points, or I didn't see certain information coming towards me, or I didn't listen to my intuition. And then like I was served up being like, you missed it, you know? Learn the lesson. I made these mistakes. I can change in these ways. And then you continue forward. So it's like when the hard comes, it's actually like, oh, thank you. You know? When the good days are there, it's also like, thank you.
But the polarity is everywhere. Like, you cannot be motivated to create if there's not something that is a problem that you're creating for. Like, the reason that you want to create is because there is a negative space. You miss something, or you want something, or there is an actual fucking problem. Like, there is an emptiness, whether that's a desire or something physical or factual, whether it doesn't really matter, but there's an emptiness that you need to create for. That could also be your urge to do something or whatever, but there is no the positive motivation comes from a negative opportunity.
There's no growth without resistance or like something to struggle against.
Yes, so if everything goes too easy, get ready, right? Because something is going to, like nothing is easy. That's the whole point, is that nothing is easy, because this the fight between positive and negative literally within the atoms is what creates the existence. And that is within the atoms, it's like a fractal on any level, where the tension between positive and negative has to occur before whatever you're creating or doing can actually manifest in the way that like you set out to. Does that make sense? Like, it is it today I was talking, it's so funny, like,
Thanks so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, don't forget to like and subscribe below. It really helps a growing channel like this out. And click up here. It'll take you to a collection of the best this podcast has to offer.